Part 88. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 872. There was silence in the room for a moment. I watched every muscle trembling on the director's face. But Valencia's disguise was really good, and even the zoom of his pupils didn't change at all. He is worthy of being called a transsexual S-class evolver. What disguise? The director looked confused and asked cautiously, Teacher Si, I don't quite understand what you mean. Don't you want my blood to analyze my DNA sequence and find my weaknesses? Si raised his eyebrows. I let you get my blood as you wished, how about it? Your companion didn't I tell you that it was pig blood? Coincidentally, at this time, the mobile phone on the table lit up. The director took a look and his expression finally changed. Above is an urgent message from Kanta. Valencia, leave quickly, you are exposed, the blood is fake, it's pig blood. Si still stood there quietly, taking some time to relax. The person in front of her finally changed. This is a tall woman with golden waves and clear lower eyeliner. The whole person has a certain sense of gloom. Valencia's voice deepened, how did you find out? The day before the show started filming, she had replaced the director himself. She asked herself that there would be no flaws when pretending to be someone else, not even a DNA test could reveal it. After the filming of the show started, she played the role of director wholeheartedly, and no one doubted it at all. Where did she leave the clue? Valencia's expression was gloomy, but his brain was constantly spinning. I have to admit, if you run for International Best Actress, I will definitely treat you as my opponent and take you seriously. Si smiled slightly, so if I were in your position, of course I would choose an identity that can grasp the overall situation. There is no more suitable identity than a director. After all, the entire filming of the show is under the direct control of the director. It's easiest for a director to do anything. After several days of testing in various directions, and the appearance of the barb, Si confirmed that the director was the real shapeshifter. Valencia's eyes changed again and she sneered, I really underestimated you. Becoming the head of the Yin family at such a young age means you have a lot of skills. She was more angry than panic at the moment. This was the first time anyone had caught her. What a disgrace. But little sister, what will happen if you recognize me? Valencia suddenly smiled charmingly, the superiors have issued a death order for you. If you can't protect yourself, my sister will not play with you. She took out a pill and took it. 1 second, 2 seconds, Valencia's smile froze on her face. Si said calmly, why don't you run away? Did you find that you can't teleport? Valencia raised his head suddenly, are you a space system evolver? No, you can stop me, you are definitely not transcendent a grade. He's an S-class evolver like her. Otherwise, she would never be controlled by a simple space blockade. Valencia looked coldly and took another pill. In an instant, the majestic evolver energy exploded, and she attacked Si. Si's eyebrows did not have any fluctuations, and he was calm and composed. Without even moving her body, she locked Valencia's shoulder with a click and threw her over the shoulder with great force. Boom! Valencia fell to the ground, severe pain came from her back, and her face was distorted. You don't think that you are my opponent after taking the medicine, do you? Si tilted his head. Without the invisible man and the memory person to cooperate with you, your disguise has been seen through again, and you are vulnerable. Valencia finally changed her expression, who are you? Few people, including members of Revenge, knew she was a partner with the two men. She finally realized a problem. They had very little information about Si. And Si actually knew a lot of information about them. The huge information gap caused her to miss. We can talk about this topic in private. Si stepped on Valencia's chest, don't think about running away. I told the assistant director that I have something very important to discuss with you in private. Your rescue came too slowly, and your IQ is not very good. Valencia's pupils shrank suddenly. You. Before she could finish the next words, Si fucking raised his hand and struck her on the shoulder and neck with an expressionless expression. Severe pain came, Valencia's eyes darkened, his consciousness completely disappeared, and he passed out. Si fucking slowly took out a rope and tied her up, then put her into the snakeskin bag that had been prepared. After doing this time, Si fucking slowly exhaled. After finding the shapeshifter, the biggest crisis was relieved, and she could let go of what she had been worrying about these days. After sending a message to Zhang Changfeng asking him to take good care of Zhang Changning and Su Yang, Si fucking easily picked up the snakeskin bag and left the program group. 10 minutes later, Kanta finally arrived at the filming location of the program crew. Kangta glanced at the guests and found that only Si fucking was missing, and his heart sank. Without any time to think, he quickly invaded the assistant director's brain and seized his memory. But the memory of the last half hour cannot be taken away. This is also the limitation of his ability. The assistant director felt dizzy. When he regained consciousness, he was no longer in the show crew's territory, and a masked man in black appeared in front of him. The assistant director was shocked. Who are you? Where is Si fucking? Kangta said coldly, answer me. The assistant director became more vigilant. What do you want to do? Tell me, you lost 100,000 yuan yesterday. Kangta's voice became even colder. If you don't tell me, I'll tell your wife. The assistant director was shocked. Who are you? How do you know? He hadn't even told the people closest to him about these things, so why could this stranger say them accurately? I said it, the assistant director did not dare to hide anything and spoke hurriedly. Teacher Si came to see the director just now, and the two of them left together. They haven't come back yet. I don't know where they went. Bang. Hearing this, Kanta punched the wall. Damn it. Still got one step ahead. He left with a livid face. The assistant director was still a little confused. Here, Kangta immediately contacted the headquarters of the revenge organization. Yes, search the entire continent for Si fucking's location, and we must rescue Valencia. Valencia is much more important than Catalina. If she is caught, many of the revenge organization's plans will be exposed. Kangta took a deep breath, his eyes filled with murderous intent. At this moment, in a basement, Yunying played with a jade pendant and raised his eyebrows. Okay, Yunju, you have caught the shapeshifter, you deserve praise. Si fucking snorted slightly, ignored him, and asked Tan Jingmo, is everything okay with the real director? No. Tan Jingmo nodded, the shapeshifter just put him to sleep. He has woken up and his body is fine. Si fucking nodded, that's good. Yunying put down the jade pendant with a pop sound. Third brother, wake her up. Yu Jian understood, and the evolver ability was activated, directly invading Valencia's brain. Ah! Valencia let out a heart-piercing scream, and she woke up suddenly, covered in cold sweat. It's true that she doesn't have much fighting power. Yunying raised his eyes lightly. Has her blood been drawn? It smoked. This time it was Lang Xian who answered, it has been sent for research. Yunying smiled, very good. You. Valencia's body tensed. You, chief of T18, Yuan Mingqi, the fifth disciple of Yun's Hangpeak, Yunchang's president. How did these people get together? Are you all acquainted with Si fucking? Why didn't you recognize me? Tsukimi said very regretfully, at least I still have a code name, Night Maiko. Si fucking clicked his tongue, that's because third senior sister, you haven't shown your true face at all. Yu Jian suddenly said, that's it? It's okay, you still have me to keep you company. Yunying said calmly, she doesn't know me either. Valencia panicked uncontrollably, and she hissed, Si fucking, who are you? The few people who appeared in front of him were all the focus of the revenge organization. Especially talking about Jingmo. Because he had appeared at the scene of S009's death, they monitored him for a long time. Later, I found that there was no problem, so I removed the eyeliner. And this man? Valencia stared at Yuning, feeling the absolute suppression of blood, and her fingers trembled. Didn't you kill me once? I fucking patted her face with a gentle voice. Why are you asking me who I am? I am listening to the recording QWQ with my dubbing teacher. Maybe everyone can listen to it after the year. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 873. Boom. As if thunder exploded in his ears, Valencia's pupils suddenly shrank, and his thoughts were thrown into chaos. Because of her special ability, her status in the revenge organization is only below that of youth, and she is the most core member. There are countless low-level members of the revenge organization, spread out in all directions. Most tasks are carried out by them, and if they fail, they can be abandoned directly. Therefore, Valencia has handled very few tasks. Not to mention the killing missions. The only killing mission she participated in was 5 years ago. Target person, S009. At this moment, Valencia finally felt where her previous familiarity with SI fucking came from. Her body trembled violently. You, impossible. We confirmed that you are dead, and Kanta confirmed that your spiritual world has completely dissipated, and you are unconscious. Really? SI fucking straightened up and said calmly, it's a pity that you guys are still a little ill-considered after all. Even Valencia was in great fear at this moment. Her voice trembled. Who are you? How can you still be alive? Xiaju, okay, the mental fluctuations are very strong, there is a flaw. Yunying raised his voice slightly. Let the third child invade her memory and see. Si fucking hummed, okay. Naturally, she would not say this to Valencia for no reason. The purpose is to defeat Valencia's mental defense and provide Tsukimi with an opportunity to invade. Her spiritual world is protected by the memory person. Yujian opened her eyes and breathed out slowly. I can't crack it all at once, it takes time. Okay, Si fucking nodded. I'd like to trouble you, third senior sister. I'm here to protect the law. Yunying turned around. You want to go back to the show crew? Yes, I fucking blinked. Maybe we can catch the memory person as well. It's difficult, Yunying said lightly. He has no fighting ability and will never go out alone. You have to be careful, the revenge organization is about to send out combat-type evolvers. Don't worry, old man, I'm recovering very well now. I've recovered 90%. Si fucking touched his chin. There are not many evolvers who can beat me. If not, I still have a boyfriend. Hearing this, Yunying raised his eyebrows. You are living a comfortable life. I am really relieved to have him here. At least he can take care of you. He waved his hand. Let's go, senior brother is here. The real director is back and the show is still filming smoothly. It's just that the director doesn't have the memory of these past few days, and his heart still needs to be tempered and tempered again. The assistant director was a little confused, so he quietly asked Si fucking, Teacher Si, has the director lost his memory? Si fucking thought for a while, maybe so. By the way, Teacher Si, after you left, a very strange person came to see me. The assistant director rubbed his arms. He seems to be able to know my memories. It's so scary. Si fucking's eyes narrowed. Okay, I understand. The rememberer has indeed arrived. During the afternoon shooting, everything went smoothly except that the director was frightened by Si fucking from time to time. Si fucking took a look at the time, left the program group, and went to the snack street opposite to buy some free continent specialty snacks. The sky is big and the earth is big, and eating is the biggest thing. Yi Huai has been waiting outside the program for several hours. When he saw Si fucking coming out, his expression perked up and he couldn't wait to step forward. Miss Si, it was my fault earlier, it was my poor eyesight. Yi Hwai knelt down and began to apologize. Can you please ask the mine owner to be merciful, forgive the Yi family's debts, and then inject funds into the Yi family. Si fucking didn't look at him, and walked straight over with a long step. Miss Si. Miss Si, wait, Yi Hwai caught up and said anxiously, I really didn't mean it. I don't know your identity, and you didn't tell me. If I knew, Si fucking still didn't stop, but finally said, get out. Si fucking, you are too petty. Yi Hwai was annoyed after being rejected several times. I didn't do you any harm, but you asked the mine owner to withdraw my Yi family's funds and almost forced me to we're completely broke. I tell you from a man's perspective, a small-minded woman like you cannot keep a man. Si fucking finally stopped and turned his head, listening to your matter-of-fact tone. Someone who didn't know better would have thought that the eighth mine belongs to your Yi family. What is moral kidnapping? Yi Hwai choked for a moment. If it weren't for you, my Yi family's capital chain would not be broken. You go and say good things to the mine owner, why bother killing everyone? Si fucking pinched his wrist and looked Yi Hwai up and down. She thought about how, with her current strength, she could kick an ordinary person without being fatal. She will try her best to hold back. Little miss, you are here at this time, a surprised voice sounded from behind. Si fucking turned around and said, Uncle Housekeeper. Little miss, the old lady asked me to pick you up. Butler Huo hurriedly stepped forward. There are also Miss Zhang and the others. Okay, thank you for your hard work. Si fucking nodded, I'll come right away. Yi Hwai looked at Butler Huo in confusion. Little lady? Isn't this a title that only exists within the family? But he carefully reviewed all the families in the main city of Free Continent in his mind, and there was no such surname as Si. Only then did Butler Huo discover Yi Hwai. He has been watching One Beautiful Day with Mrs. Huo these days, and he can clearly see Yi Hwai's little moves. It's just that the young lady has been looking for a shapeshifter and can't be too alarming and expose the Huo family, so they can't bear to pay attention to it. Now that the shapeshifter has been captured, it's time to settle the score. But Yi Hwai didn't have time to think so much. He still wanted to pull Si fucking's arm. Si fucking, wait a minute, How dare you come to see the young lady? Butler Huo was furious. You touched the young lady on the show, but you are even more bold after the show. The Yi family has withdrawn from the ranks of the big family, so what else do you have to be arrogant about? Come here, arrest him, take him back and let the old lady deal with him. Not to mention the Yi family, which has not even entered the main city. Even if the direct descendants of the other three families of the four major families dare to touch Si fucking, the Huo family will never let it go. Under the order of Butler Huo, the guards in black immediately stepped forward and controlled Yi Hwai instantly. This series of movements was so smooth that Yi Hwai didn't react immediately. After a few seconds, he couldn't help shouting, "What are you doing?" Butler Huo didn't even listen, so he took out tape and tied his mouth. Then he turned to Si fucking and said, "Don't worry, young lady, he will be left to us to deal with. You can prepare other things with peace of mind." Si fucking nodded slightly, "Thank you for your hard work." "It's not hard work, it's not hard work." Butler Huo glanced at Yi Hwai with disgust. "This person is just a thief, he should be dealt with properly." Butler Huo escorted Yi Hwai into a car behind him. Si fucking also got into the car and finally touched the long-lost steering wheel. Her cerebral cortex finally became active. A few minutes later, Zhang Changning, Zhang Changfeng and Su Yang arrived. Zhang Changning sat down in the passenger seat, and the other two grown men sat in the back. "Fasten your seat belt and sit tight." Si fucking stepped on the accelerator and said happily, "Okay, let's go." Whoosh. Butler Huo, who was following behind, saw the car in front of him speeding away at a very strange speed. He just managed to find his way through the traffic. 30 minutes later, when butler Huo arrived at Huo's house, Sci-fi was already sitting at the table eating snacks happily. Next to them, Zhang Changning and the other two people had pale faces, obviously they had just vomited. Butler Huo hereby sternly warned everyone in the Huo family that the young lady must not be allowed to touch the car. "Old madam, we caught that person from the Yi family," Butler Huo complained directly. "He followed the young lady today. I don't know what he wanted to do." Mrs. Huo put down the teacup with a snap, her face darkened. "Bring it in. Something is running wild on the Huo family's head." Good morning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 874. If Yi Huai hadn't bumped into him again today, Mrs. Huo would have forgotten about such a passerby. It depends on whether she agrees to spank her granddaughter. Butler Huo responded and immediately asked the guards to escort Yi Huai in. At this time, Huo Tianwen happened to come down from upstairs. "Is this the kid in the show? Isn't it? You are so brave." Mrs. Huo looked at Yi Huai and said coldly, "I didn't bother him, but he dared to come to Ching Ching." With a plop, Yi Huai's legs softened and he knelt on the ground. His face was pale, his nerves were burning, and his whole body was on the verge of collapse. Mrs. Huo, the former captain of the law enforcement team of Eternal College, was right in front of him. With Yi Huai's status, it is natural that he cannot contact Mrs. Huo. But Mrs. Huo, as an honorary student of Eternal College, had a special sculpture that he once visited. Yi Huai's lips trembled fiercely. Si turned out to be from the Huo family, but why was her last name Si? Yi Huai didn't have time to think so much. He was so frightened that he began to kowtow crazily. "Old madam. Old madam, I don't know, please let me go. I have no other thoughts about Miss Si. I just want to ask her to ask the mine owner to take back the order to withdraw capital." Soon, his head was dripping with blood. Huo Tianwen smiled contemptuously. "Mom, this kid is just a weakling. You were so scared before you even started. Xiao withdrew the funds, and they can't enter the main city," Mrs. Huo said lightly. "Then prohibit the Yi family from entering the main city in the future. Don't let them get in King King's eyes. The main city is the hub of free continent. If a family is banned from entering the main city, the family will be completely destroyed." Huo Tianwen nodded. "Beat him, throw him out, and give him the order at the city gate." Butler Huo was already gearing up. "Yes, head of the family." "Old madam," Yi Huai panicked, "old madam, please spare your life." Mrs. Huo turned a deaf ear and he was dragged down like this. Huo Tianwen glanced around and wondered, didn't Ching Ching just come back? Where did she go? "Going back to business," Mrs. Huo said. "We caught the shapeshifter and are handling the follow-up work." Huo Tianwen nodded and smiled again. "You can even catch a shapeshifter. Ching Ching is really awesome." Mrs. Huo glanced at him. "That's right, you should learn more. It doesn't matter if you don't learn. Anyway, you will give up your position sooner or later." Huo Tianwen. At this time, the Revenge Organization headquarters. They still haven't found Valencia. She seems to have disappeared out of thin air. The young man also had a sullen face and looked ugly. Kunta, who was sitting below, suddenly stood up with cold sweat on his forehead. The young man looked at him. "What's wrong?" "Sir," Valencia sighed. Kunta's voice was difficult. "The other side has a very powerful spiritual evolver, and they have already broken through the memory protection defense line I set for Valencia. They are just one step away. Once these memory protection lines are broken, their headquarters location will be exposed. The young man's eyes suddenly changed, and his voice became unusually stern. Find a way to stop them immediately. The opponent's ability is not inferior to mine. Kanta took a deep breath. If we want to stop it, we can only destroy Valencia's brain, but in this way, she will. He had worked with Valencia for 10 years, and for a moment he couldn't accept that she would die. Just do it. The young man's eyes were sharp. Do you want them to get more information and make us suffer greater losses? Kanta raised his head suddenly. But sir, she has made a lot of contributions. She. In the face of the big plan, anyone can become an outcast. The young man was silent for a moment and said lightly, including me. Stop talking nonsense and act quickly. Yes. Kanta gritted his teeth and followed the young man's instructions. He said sorry to Valencia from the bottom of his heart. Also at the same time, in the basement. Ah! Valencia suddenly let out a shrill scream. There was an explosion in the air. Tsukimi's expression changed. Yunying waved. Buzz dash. A barrier made of wind appeared, blocking the sudden explosion. Sci-fi also protected Yujian in time and supported her with his other hand. Third senior sister, are you okay? It's okay. Yujian wiped the sweat from his forehead. I noticed something was wrong and exited in time. The injury was not too serious. Let me take a breath. Sci-fi frowned. Did the memory one launch the attack? Tsukimi pressed his temple. Well, he detonated the mental brand in Valencia's brain. At this moment, Valencia passed out and remained motionless. Yunying stepped forward, squatted down, and checked Valencia's situation. His eyes suddenly narrowed and he sneered softly, how cruel. Tanjingmo also stepped forward. What's wrong? Her brain was completely destroyed. Yunying said calmly. The memory maker used the method of killing both the jade and the stone to make her brain die, so that the third child would not be able to take away her memory. Tanjingmo's eyes changed slightly. They should have the same status in the revenge organization. If they are just rememberers, they are not qualified to do this. Yes. Yunying's voice was calm. The highest ranking person gave the order. Tanjingmo frowned. Is it the highest level? The status sounds very powerful, but over there in the Eternal Continent. Yunying chuckled. It's just a chess piece. Sci-fi looked solemn. My master and senior Moiwan have no idea how to get to another world. We have too little information about the enemies on the Eternal Continent. Yunying nodded in agreement. During the 500 years when he mistakenly entered the Eternal Continent, he clearly understood the gap between the Eternal Continent and the Earth. It is no exaggeration to say that just a spiritual cultivator in the Spirit Emperor realm who comes here without restrictions can destroy a continent. We still obtained part of the memory in time. Yujian finished his rest and spoke slowly. There is indeed a way to come to us in the Eternal Continent, but only people below the Spirit Master level can come out. After they come out, their abilities will be limited to S-level evolvers. Because we don't have so-called aura here, they won't be able to use many spells. Sci-fi narrowed his fox eyes slightly. I see. I also searched for a few keywords. Yujian paused. Yellow Spring Mountain, God's Tomb, Wilderness, Death Swamp, and Endless Sea. Upon hearing the two place names Endless Sea and Death Swamp, Sci-fi and Tanjingmo's pupils narrowed at the same time, like wild beasts whose territory had been violated. Yes, it's similar to what I investigated. Yunying said lightly. These places and the lords here can be directly determined to be our enemies. There is no specific ranking of the top 10 most dangerous places, but these 5 places are all ranked in the top 5. Even if a 6-star player enters the Ghost Valley, which is bound to die, he is still weaker than these 5 places. If Gigo is a narrow escape from death, then the Endless Sea is a life without death. Therefore, the information on these 5 dangerous places is getting less and less, almost zero. Not to mention the Eternal Academy, even the Lord of Ghost Valley knew very little about the 2 tomb keepers of the God's Tomb. There is no chance of winning against the spiritual cultivators from these 5 places. Sci-fucking murmured, I don't want to involve Master and the others. They were originally. Now it's not a matter of whether you will involve them. Yunying leaned down slightly, staring into her eyes, his voice slowed down and softened, but once the holy day comes, their situation will be much more dangerous than ours. Sci-fucking's expression turned serious, Senior brother, you are right. He is their enemy and the enemy of the Lord of Ghost Valley. Okay, there is still something to gain. Yunying straightened up, children, go and have a rest. Only after you have rested can you have the strength to face the enemy. On the other side, the entrance to the main city. The head of the Yi family was furious, why do you ban me from entering the main city? I'm here to do business. The guard still didn't look at him or move out of the way. When the head of the Yi family was about to say something else, Yi Huai was thrown out by the Huo family's guards. Mrs. Yi was shocked, Xiao Huai. Xiao Huai, what's the matter with you? Dad, Mom. Yi Huai raised his head with difficulty, his whole body was completely blank. I'm sorry, I messed up things again. I didn't expect that she was. What's wrong with her? Mrs. Yi couldn't bear to hear this name, and her face changed. Did she beat you like this? I'm going to settle the score with her right now. Yi Huai lowered his head and said in a thin voice, she is the young lady of the Huo family. I was thrown out by the Huo family. I'm still coughing, but I can at least fall asleep after taking the medicine, which is good news. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 875. He actually had an infatuation with the young lady of the Huo family, and once thought it was an honor for him to see her boss, fucking. After all, none of the female stars in the continent's entertainment industry could compete with him at home, and they were all conquered by him in different ways. As a result, this time, he kicked firmly on the iron plate. Yi Huai felt bitter in his heart, and his body ached like being crushed by a car, and he didn't have the strength to stand up at all. Mrs. Yi's expression froze. Her body trembled suddenly, very unbelievable. What did you say? The Huo family. What is the status of the Huo family in Free State? One of the 4 big families. Comprehensive strength second. Not to mention the Yi family, the big families with names and surnames in the main city are not enough to fight against the Huo family. Mrs. Yi's face turned pale instantly. But she still forced a smile. Xiao Huai, did you mishear or misread? How could she be the Huo family? She. In the end, Mrs. Yi couldn't speak anymore. Only the 4 major families can drive them out of the main city. Mrs. Yi also collapsed on the ground, her clothes were completely soaked in cold sweat. Now when she thinks back to her previous thoughts, she just finds it very ridiculous. This time, the Yi family is completely over. At this moment, there was only overwhelming regret, drowning out all the thoughts in Mrs. Yi's heart. On the other side, the General Administration of Vengeance Organization. The young man sat quietly on the main seat, tapping his fingers on the table. After a long time, he seemed to wake up from a dream. Valencia is dead. Kanta clenched her fingers tightly, her voice hoarse, yes, her brain is dead. If I can find her, I can still rebuild her brain nerves. It just fell into Sci-fucking's hands. How could she release Valencia? There is too little information on her. The young man clasped his hands and glanced sharply, a bunch of waste, even her evolutionary ability can't be found. The rest of the people were also a little ashamed. But they can't be blamed for this, after all, Sci-fucking has never shown any evolutionary abilities in public. But now that Valencia was arrested, they all realized that Sci-fucking's strength was far stronger than what they could see. Very tricky. Kanta gritted his teeth and finally said, my lord, why don't you send the looters to take action? No, he was used to deal with Yunjin and the one from the Holy Light Tribunal. Hearing this, the young man glanced at him lightly, and said coldly, "Premature exposure, Yunjin, are you going to deal with it? Can you handle it?" The predator possesses the bloodline of an evolutionary beyond the S rank. His bloodline is extremely pure, and he is currently the highest member of the Vengeance Organization. Bloodline purity is not as high as possible. Because once a certain critical point is broken, the body may not be able to bear it. This is also why after the advanced evolutionary combines, the child born may explode and die. Predator is a rare evolutionary who has broken through the critical point of bloodline, but still shows no signs of energy runaway. Even Kanta only knew that predators had the ability to occupy other people's bodies, plunder the ability of the other party's evolutionary, and absorb the other party's life. It can be said to be against the sky, and it can be called God. "This is our whole card," the young man said lightly, "we can't expose it anymore. She is the head of the Yin family, so she should have entered the Eternal Academy." A member said, "It is true that she was found on the admission list of Eternal Academy, but she has never taken the exam." And the young man nodded, "The next exam is coming soon, let her do it, and I don't need to say more about the rest, right?" The members all responded respectfully, "Yes, my lord." At this time, Eternal Continent, Ghost Valley. "You've been running a lot lately." The Lord of Ghost Valley glanced at Sci-fi. "I didn't come here for a few months before, why are you so free recently? Isn't this a special trip to accompany you, master?" Sci-fi squeezed his shoulders, "I'm a carrying little padded jacket." "Humph, there's nothing to be courteous about." The Lord of Ghost Valley said so, but felt very comfortable in his heart. "Tell me, what's the matter this time?" Sci-fi blinked. "I found an apprentice for Sister Yunmen, master, why don't you come with me to Yunmen Lake?" Cough, 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 the Lord of Ghost Valley was choked. "Can you pay attention to your seniority? How many times has this old man said, 'Don't be shy and call me sister, she will be long live this year'? Sci-fi is very obedient, oh." The Lord of Ghost Valley held his forehead, with a look of convincing you, and said helplessly, "You'd better put it down, in case you saw the Lord of Longevity Hall and called her sister that day, be careful that she violently beat you up." Meal. Sci-Fu raised his eyebrows, "The Lord of the Palace of Longevity. That guy from Moiwan called her a little girl last time, and I scolded her." The Lord of Ghost Valley stroked his beard and shook his head. "Chang Chang Sheng, it's true that she looks like a little girl, but I don't know how long she has lived. It's been a year." Sci-fi touched his chin with a serious expression, "I will hold back. Let's go." The Lord of Gigo caressed his clothes, "Yunmen still needs an apprentice, I don't worry about the one you choose. Follow me." "Why are you standing there?" Sci-Fu tilted his head and saw Ji Xingzi was motionless. "Hey, what are you looking at there?" Ji Xingzi's brain was not enough, and he was in a state of hypoxia. After a full half-minute of silence, he said with a sad face, "Brother, you didn't tell me that you are so awesome in the Eternal Continent. The apprentice of the Lord of Ghost Valley. I also know Yunmen. I thought letting him inherit Tachibana Kenji's position was enough to cover him." Unexpectedly, a few more Buddhas were invited to him. Today, his life has been sublimated like never before, and it is directly consummated. Ji Xingzi was extremely moved. "Brother, I knew I was going to mess with you, absolutely right. Stop being glib." Sci-fi lifted his collar, "Follow me well." The Lord of Ghost Valley waved his hand. In an instant, the three of them arrived at Yunmen. His arrival made all the disciples in Yunmen silent, even breathing softly, for fear of disturbing this eccentric old man. Ghost Valley Yunmen raised her eyebrows. "Today is really strange, if you don't fight with Moiwan, what's the point of coming to Yunmen's? It's not that the old man has a noble job, it's the old man's disciple." The Lord of Gigu brought Sci-fi to his side. "My disciple has been thinking about you for a long time, and I have no disciples under my seat. In case you become an eternity in the future immortals, there is no one to inherit your Yunmen's. Si fucking. Speaking like this, didn't her master really come to kick the gym? Humph, Gigo, I'm afraid this is what you think in your heart. Yunmen snorted softly, your apprentice is so well behaved, he definitely wouldn't say such a thing. This time it is the turn of the Lord of Ghost Valley. Clever. He looked at Si fucking expressionlessly. Si fucking's fox eyes blinked innocently. But I do lack someone who will inherit my mantle. Yunmen sighed softly, but the fact that Baiji betrayed Yunmen's and used her trust to seriously injure her is still a thorn in her heart. The thorn would not dissipate with Bridget's death. Sister Yunmen, please watch first, if you can't do it, just kick him. Si fucking then said, if he doesn't like you in any way, you can deal with him as you like. Ha 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 ha, Yunmen laughed loudly, okay, I am destined to be with you, and your words have reached this point, I will definitely see you when I see you. Si fucking nodded, Jizingzi, don't stand outside the door like a wooden man, come in quickly. Footsteps sounded, and Jizingzi entered slowly. This is the apprentice I found for you, Sister Yunmen. Si fucking nodded slightly, he is very talented, and he has never had a master. He taught everything by himself following the contents of the book. The Lord of Ghost Valley was very surprised, just self-study? That's really good. He also saw Jizingzi's roots just now, and it was excellent. Huh. Yunmenze looked at Jizingzi carefully, this child. Suddenly, she didn't know what she had discovered, and her expression changed slightly. Shua. In the next second, Yunmen came in front of Jizingzi. Jizingzi's heart jumped suddenly, and he was a little nervous. Sister, I. Bah, why did he start calling me sister? Is that what he can call sister? He wished he could slap himself. Jizingzi immediately changed his words, old ancestor, what about me? Still didn't say a complete sentence. He has been playing the game Eternal for a long time, but he has never seen any of the top 10 vicious NPCs. He never thought that he could get close to Yunmen. Yunmen finally spat out the following words with a trembling voice, why do you have my brother's blood? Good morning. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 876. As soon as the sentence came out, there was a moment of silence around. Jizingzi was startled and at a loss, huh? He knew very early on that Yunmen was the head of thousands of Onmyoges, with great strength. He has always regarded Yunmen as an idol. He never thought about any blood relationship with Yunmen. Si fucking's eyes narrowed suddenly. Jizingzi is from the Ji family, and the blood of the Ji family also flows in his body. Could it be that Yunmen's elder brother is also a member of the Ji family? After Jizingzi panicked, he said cautiously, old ancestor, did you read it wrong? No. I can't be wrong. Yunmen held his shoulders firmly, although the blood is thin and long-lasting, it is very strong, and I can feel the fluctuations. Jizingzi asked tentatively, don't you know the name of your ancestor's elder brother? Yunmen's hands trembled for a while, before she gradually calmed down, she smiled, we all have no surnames, only first names, and my elder brother's name is Chun Yuan. Jizingzi turned pale with shock, ancestor Chun Yuan. The founder of the Ji family is also the number one Onmyoji. Si fucking's pupils shrank suddenly, no wonder. The gate of the dead is something from another world, no wonder Ji Chun Yuan has a way to deal with it. But since Ji Chun Yuan is Yunmen's elder brother, his strength will only become stronger, so why did he end up in the 5 states of Great Xia? Si fucking recalled the time when she followed Ji Chun Yuan to learn the art of yin-yang and 5 elements. In terms of words and deeds, Ji Chun Yuan didn't know the existence of the eternal continent. This is strange. Brother, The Lord of Ghost Valley was also confused. Since when did you have a brother? My brother disappeared 10,000 years ago, when we were all young. Yunmen wiped away tears. I searched almost the entire eternal continent, but I couldn't find him. She was silent for a moment, and said in a slightly hoarse voice, brother's talent and cultivation are higher than mine. The original successor of Yunmen's was originally him. This is the first time the Lord of Ghost Valley heard about it. He frowned. I've never heard you mention it before. Yunmen shook her head, and said slowly, I have been looking for my brother for thousands of years, but there is no news. After I cultivated to the Holy Spirit realm, I felt that my brother is not in this world at all, and I don't have any breath of soul. For Yunmen, as long as there is still a ray of soul breath, she can use all powerful means to condense the soul, and then resurrect the person. But not at all. At that time, Yunmen couldn't believe it, and was heartbroken to death. But she must also cheer up and pass on Yunmen's. When seeing Sci-fi for the first time, Yunmen felt a bit of Ji Chenyuan's character from her. It happened that the two divine swords Tianyu Yuzhan and Buletin Du Yuhan were also destined for her, so Yunmen gave them as gifts. Did not expect. Her brother actually has offspring. At this moment, Ji Xingzi pulled Sci-fi and went crazy. Big brother, what a fool, my ancestor turned out to be Yunmen's elder brother. Sci-fi looked at him expressionlessly. Stop your beautiful national essence. Ji Xingzi, shut up. Master, please invite Senior Moun to come too. Sci-fi raised his head. I have something to discuss with you, brother 9. The Lord of Ghost Valley snorted. Okay, listen to you. He sent a sound transmission to Lord Moiwan thousands of miles away. Soon, Lord Moiwan and Yuzian came together. Sci-fi pinched his fingers and said in a low voice, Ninth brother, it has been confirmed that Senior Chun Yuan is Sister Yunmen's elder brother. Hearing this, Yuzian's eyes flickered. So that's the case. Ji Chenyuan's attainments in yin-yang and 5 elements are too high, and other onmyoges are far behind. Although before the establishment of the Ji family, De Xia already had yin-yang. But with the appearance of Ji Chenyuan, Daxia's yin-yang technique reached its peak. Two masters, Sister Yunmen, there is something very important that Aju and I will tell you. Sci-fi raised his head and said solemnly, maybe it sounds fantastic, but it is indeed true. She told a series of things about the Eternal Continent, the Great Xia Dynasty, Freedom Continent, and the Vengeance Organization. Yuzian also added some details about what happened when she worked with Ji Chenyuan. Yunmen's expression changed, and he couldn't help taking a breath. My brother is missing, so he went to another world. The real-time ratio between the two worlds is extremely chaotic without any rules. Sci-fi couldn't tell when Ji Chenyuan came to Earth. That's also very good, Yunmen said softly. I thought my elder brother had already gone, but I didn't expect him to have a successor. As she said that, she looked at Yuzian with a slight smile. No wonder, I think you are very familiar. You are the person my brother serves, he must admire you very much. Yuzian closed his eyes slightly. I admire him. The greatness of Ji Chenyuan cannot be written in the history books. Sci-fi poked the hand of the Lord of Ghost Valley. Master, do you have any questions to ask me? Actually, before you ask me if I ever thought about going to another world, I guessed something, but I'm not sure. The Lord of Ghost Valley sighed. You don't look like someone from the Eternal Continent, and then you disappeared after hundreds of years. I couldn't find it no matter how I searched, so I vaguely felt it at that time. Sci-fi was startled. The Lord of Ghost Valley had gentle eyes, and said softly, you must have had a hard time living in that world where Master can't go. Sci-fi's hand trembled. His eyes were hot, and tears welled up suddenly. She lowered her head quickly, and responded softly, it's actually okay. For her, the Lord of Ghost Valley is also a teacher and a father. Only those closest to her will only care about her in the first place. But that world is really interesting. The Lord of Ghost Valley stroked his beard. That Pac-Man is really fun, I can play with it all day. Sci-fucking. Gzingz. He looked a little dazed. It turns out that a peak powerhouse like the Lord of Ghost Valley likes to play this kind of game from the last century. Lord Moywan frowned. The revenge organization mentioned by the disciple-in-law, who communicates with people here, is the 5 places of Huanquan Mountain, Manghuanja, Death Swamp, Endless Sea and God's Tomb. I've met the people in Huanquan Mountain before. Yunmen's expression turned cold. Everyone was wrapped in black bandages, like a sacrificial burial. I don't like it very much. The Manghuanja looks upright, and I didn't expect to be involved in this matter. The Lord of Ghost Valley also frowned. The old man is more worried about the tomb keeper of the God's Tomb, but I don't know what to do with you. With the guardian beast of the God's Tomb, we might as well fight. Yunmen's eyes darkened slightly. Things are really tricky, if brother is still here. Sister Yunmen, you have 100,000 onmyojis under your command. There must be someone from the other party. Si looked solemn. Baiji was instigated and almost killed you, you must be careful. I don't need you to tell me. Yunmen nodded, and said with a sneer, I won't startle the snake, just clean it up in secret. Apprentice daughter-in-law, don't look at your sister. Yunmen's calm and indifferent temperament, she is used to it. Lord Moywan said jokingly, she kills people with much tougher methods than your master. The owner of Ghost Valley was furious. You can praise others if you praise them. Why do you want to step on me in front of my apprentice? Si blinked his eyes. Suddenly I remembered the system notes to the Lord of Ghost Valley in eternity, an old man who looks amiable. Okay, master knows everything. The Lord of Ghost Valley patted Si's head. You and your son-in-law go back and have a good rest, and we will discuss it carefully. Okay. Si didn't refuse, and stood up. I will come to see you, master, on time. The Lord of Ghost Valley nodded. The 3 left. Yunmen counted on her fingers. Our side is short of manpower. Lord Moywan thought for a while. Gigo, look at the little ant in the Palace of Eternal Life, can you pull us over? The Lord of Ghost Valley gave him a sideways glance. Why did you start calling other people my little ant again? Weren't you still a little girl that day? Lord Moywan was confident, because I never hit her. Lord of Ghost Valley. What a shameless old thing. Let Yunmen go. The Lord of Gigo said angrily, there is always a common language between people of the same sex. If you go, be careful to be beaten like a pig's head again. Real world. The Huo family. Mr. G came with Gzingz this time, and was also taken to the Huo family as a guest. As soon as Gzingz came out of the game cabin, he couldn't wait to find Mr. G, and said excitedly, old man, do you know who I was accepted as an apprentice? Mr. G glanced at him, and snorted coldly, who is it? Is it possible that there is still some great god who can shake Liberty Island? See you tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 877. Just this brat? If I hadn't gotten lucky and got famous by being with Lord Yawu, would I still be able to be popular in Free Continent? Mr. G has never been lenient when it comes to burying his descendants. If he becomes cruel, he will even scold himself. Mr. G likes the roast chicken produced by Huajia Kitchen. He rubbed his hands, tore off another piece of chicken leg, and just put it in his mouth. Old man, you heard me clearly. Gzingz cleared his throat. My new master will not change his name but his surname. Yunmen, the master of Yunmen's, is the same. Oh, Yunmen, I thought it was. Mr. G suddenly stopped chewing. The next second, he jumped up suddenly, dropped the chicken legs to the ground, and asked anxiously, who are you talking about? Yunmen. Gzingz was beaming. The top 10 evil NPCs in eternity. Old man, you are not so ignorant that you have never heard of this, are you? Of course I've heard of it. Mr. G looked at him in surprise. How can you be Yunmen's disciple? Is there something wrong with her eyes? Bah! My talent is so high, young master. It is normal for Yunmen to take me as my disciple. Ji Xingzi snorted coldly. As he spoke, he took out a jade pendant. Did you see it? This is the meeting gift that the master gave me. Mr. G's expression brightened. What a strong power of yin-yang and 5 elements, what a magical weapon. At this time, Mr. G was completely convinced. Ji Xingzi put away the jade pendant and became proud again. Old man, there is one more thing. I will scare you to death if I tell you. Mr. G took a breath, patted his chest, and said angrily, is there anything scarier than Yunmen's taking on a disciple? Ji Xingzi put on a look like you are so ignorant, and then lowered his voice. Ancestor Chun Yuan is the biological brother of Master Yunmen. Mr. G jumped up again, higher than before. He even accidentally beat Ji Xingzi out. Caught off guard, Ji Xingzi hit the wall and hissed, my ass. Old man, you've gone too far. What's going on? Mr. G was anxious and confused. He stammered, Yunmen is an NPC. Your ancestor Chun Yuan is a real person who left his name in history. Are the NPC and the real person becoming brothers and sisters? It's a long story to be specific. Ji Xingzi shook his head. I'll tell you slowly. Mr. G was stunned for a while, then slowly picked up the chicken legs again, but they were tasteless. His worldview was shattered today. On the other side, in the study. Under Mrs. Huo's strong request, Yu Xian also moved all her personal belongings to the Huo family. He is painting. Sci-fi sat next to him, holding her chin and looking at him. He made a few random strokes and the painting took shape quickly. The painting shows Ji Chunyuan's appearance in middle age. Next to Ji Chunyuan, there were Zhang Haiping, Mo Yanfen, and Feng Yubai. In Yu Xian's writing, these 4 founders of aristocratic families seem to have come alive. After Yu Xian finished painting, he put down the pen and sighed softly, I never thought. Sci-fi was silent for a moment and said softly, with the ability of ancestor Chun Yuan, he can survive without the physical body. Maybe he may still be in a certain corner of the world, but he has lost his memory again. I traveled back in time and didn't actually see his bones. You always comfort me like this. Yu Xian turned around, smiled, and said in a gentle voice, same as before. He rarely smiled. But with such a smile, all the romance was eclipsed. Sci-fi was startled. She knew that the past he was talking about was when he died in his previous life. But I was comforted. Yu Xian touched her cheek, her palms were warm. I didn't have the strength at that time, and I couldn't comfort you when I saw you crying. He had anticipated his death, and he did not want those around him to be saddened by it. After a pause, he asked again, what were you thinking about at that time? You can tell me now. I was thinking in my heart, I really want to hug you and tell you that 1500 years later, everything has settled. Sci-fi whispered, there will be no war, and there will be no displacement, everything you want has come true. After a pause, she continued, I'm just restricted by the system and can't do anything. He looked at her quietly, his heart beating clearly audible in his chest. The wind moved violently, and my heart moved even more violently. Then, he seemed to sigh, raised his hand again, and gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. The kiss fell between the eyebrows and eyes, then gradually moved downwards, and finally pressed against her lips. His movements at this time were always gentle. But still with the emperor's always strong control. It was as if heaven and earth were in his arms. He hugged her at last and laughed softly, his chest shaking slightly, well, I know everything. I heard it and saw it. The sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, the 5 states of Daxia are still there, Why are you crying? He brushed away the tears from the corners of her eyes again, his voice softer, don't cry. Sci's heart suddenly shook. This is what he said to her before he died. Now that she heard it again, it was as if she was once again brought back to the world of great conflict 1,500 years ago. But this time, everything is different. He finally brushed away her sadness with his own hands and added 3 more words with a smile, I'm here too. Sci buried her head and said in a muffled voice, you are obviously the best at coaxing people. Well, it's too troublesome to coax people. Zion patted her back and smiled again, I can only coax you, girl. Sci covered her ears, you are prohibited from making vocal attacks on me. It's too much. Have a rest. The movements of his hands became more and more gentle, go to sleep for a while, I will be here for as long as you want. The next day. The variety show One Beautiful Day has also come to an end. Although it was only filming the daily lives of celebrities, the ratings rarely exceeded the charts. The director had no idea what happened during those days when he was disguised as a shapeshifter, but he was in a great mood when he found out that he got the bonus perfectly. There are few things better than paid time off. In Free Continent, Sci also quickly gathered a group of fans. Moosers expressed warm celebration. My daughter is welcome wherever she goes, mom fans are happy. Am I the only one who wants to hide Ching Ching and buy her all kinds of beautiful clothes every day? In front of you, do you, Jinwoo Zangking, just want to play Miracle Ching Ching? I dare not think about it, what if I? Be careful, you all get arrested. Sci was eating the snacks Zhang Changning gave her. You have to be careful. Yu Lingzhao walked up behind her, turned off the microphone, and frowned, who are you? Sci looked calm and raised his eyebrows, just an ordinary person who loves fans. Yu Lingzhao snorted lightly, you can lie to others, but to me. Sci lazily said, then I hope Master Lingzhao can find something. Yu Lingzhao slowly narrowed his eyes. Speaking of which, I heard that there is a talented person in the Yu family, whose name is Hui Shui. Sci suddenly said, I was so impressed that I asked, does Mr. Lingzhao know about him? Hui Shui, Yu Lingzhao was stunned for a moment, then shook his head, I haven't seen her for a long time. I can't enter the forbidden area where she retreats. She is indeed very powerful. Sci's eyes darkened. Teacher Sci, at this time, the director walked up to her cautiously, someone is looking for you. Huh, Sci turned around. Miss Sci, she is the vice president of Eternal College. There is something very important. Please come over. Sci nodded, okay, I'll be right over. The Muses didn't know the vice dean, they just regarded him as an ordinary middle-aged man. But fans in the continent were confused. Wait a minute, isn't this the vice president of Eternal College, the one who has been in charge of admissions? You're such an evolutionary person that you came to the entertainment industry to play? Good morning. I feel that your majesty and Ching Ching are the sweetest cacks I have ever written. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 878. The studio is pretty quiet. After a while, only netizens spoke one after another. That's the vice principal. Even if Eternal Academy enrolls students, not all of them come from the old man himself. If my goddess is an evolutionary, how advanced is she? It must be an A-level, right? No way, could it be possible that there are so many evolutionaries outside the continent that A-levels are not enough to watch, so they switch to become actors? It's no secret that evolvers are in free state. The percentage of evolvers in Free Island can be as high as 65%, but most of the evolvers are below D rank. As long as you carry the evolutionary gene, you can be called an evolutionary. Evolvers below D level basically don't have any active evolution abilities, they just have a better physique than ordinary people. Advanced evolutionaries are a rare group no matter where they are. This is especially true for the evolutionaries who can enter the Eternal Academy. Miss Si, it's like this. The May exam will be in 2 days, the vice president said. You haven't taken the exam since you entered the hospital. You can't miss this monthly exam. The academy also took into account that you have just become the head of the Yin family, and the family has many important matters to deal with, so it has not urged you to take the exam. Hearing this sentence, Si fucking raised his eyebrows. No problem, I will go there on time. Except for Dean Dongfang, no one else in Eternal Academy knew that she was from the Huo family. Her relationship with Dean Dongfang is also a secret. The revenge organization has infiltrated too much. On the one hand, she needs to preserve her strength, and on the other hand, she also needs to paralyze the opponent's eyeliner. After the shapeshifters are eliminated, there is always less risk of their own people being invaded. That's good. The deputy dean hesitated for a moment. Actually, Miss Si, you don't need to participate in variety shows. You just need to take a few more tasks in the college. Not only are the bonuses generous, but you can also accumulate meritorious honor points and be listed on the Eternal list. It's a multi-purpose move. The vice president just wanted to sigh. This is the head of the Yin family, why did he go to the entertainment circle? Si fucking blinked. Okay, I will think about it. That's good, the vice president nodded. I'm looking forward to Miss C's first assessment. After saying goodbye to the vice president, Si fucking returned to the camera. She just sat down, and with a shua, all eyes looked over. The director coughed twice and rubbed his hands. Mr. Si, it's like this. Everyone is very curious about what the vice president told you. Of course, it's okay if you don't tell me. We are just curious. Well, it's not a big deal, so to speak. Si fucking unscrewed a bottle of Coke, with a casual expression. Didn't I get lucky enough to get into the Eternal Academy last year? But I was too busy, so I kept pretending not to take the exam. The deputy dean is urging me to go back to take the exam. If I don't take it, I may have to be expelled. Is this a big deal? Why did you enter the Eternal Academy without saying a word? Can I visit? Director, hurry up and contact Eternal Academy for a live broadcast. I want to watch Ching Ching beat someone up in person. Hey, do you want to visit? Si fucking thought for a while. I don't know if I can start a live broadcast. I'll mention it to the college, but I don't have any real power right now. It's okay, let the director come. The director is not as dedicated as he was in the first few days. No paddling is allowed. Director. He can't do it either. Yu Lingzhao was a little surprised. Can you keep pretending not to take the exam? Isn't someone here to urge me? Si fucking shrugged and asked suddenly. Master Lingzhao seems to have graduated. Yeah, Yu Lingzhao replied, graduated last year and passed the examination by luck. After a pause, he continued, Hui Shui, whom you admire, graduated very early, a real genius. Si fucking smiled. I have something to do in the future, I will ask Mr. Lingzhao for advice. Yu Lingzhao didn't speak, it was a tacit agreement. The last day of filming ended, and after the final group photo was taken, Si fucking said goodbye to the director and others one by one. Zhang Changning, Zhang Changfeng, and Su Yang were also picked up by the Huo family's guards, who escorted them to leave Freedom Island safely and return to Daxia. After doing all this, Si fucking felt relieved. Yu Zian drove early to wait for her. She trotted forward to hug him, rubbed his palm, and said cheerfully, it's almost June 6th, and I prepared a gift for you. So early, Yu Zian patted her head, brought her into the car, and smiled slightly. I will be very pleasantly surprised. Si fucking blinked his fox eyes. You don't even know what I prepared for you, so why are you surprised? Yu Zian hummed, and her smile deepened. What you prepared, isn't it a surprise? The scent of cinnamon on a moonlit night surrounds my ears, setting off an electric current. I fucking felt a little hot. She rolled down the car window, and suddenly had bad thoughts. What if I cook for you? Uzian's driving action did not stop. Then I have to follow the girl's wishes and finish eating everything. Just kidding, just kidding. Fu tilted his chin. I won't go near the kitchen. What if I poison you to death? If she wants to poison, she will poison senior brother, a poisonous person. Uzian lowered her eyes, smiling unabated. There are not many blessings in life. He has always been very fortunate that he was able to meet her. After eating, Fu went to the laboratory building. Junior sister, come here. Lang Xian beckoned to her. This is the DNA sequence of an invisible man and a shape-shifting man. I intercepted a part of it, and there are several common gene fragments. Fu leaned down and stared at the detection screen. These genes are extremely unstable, Lang Xian said again, and just before you came, they had mutated 14 times. DNA is a double helix structure, and its replication method is semi-conservative replication, which has very strong stability. But this stability is completely untenable in the genes of the evolutionaries. Fucking narrowed his eyes. What is the direction of mutation? The genes continue to strengthen and become more active. Lang Xian nodded slightly. To put it another way, the strength of shapeshifters and invisible people will also continue to increase, but at the same time, there will be more energy rampages on their bodies. If the body can't support it, the meridians will be cut off, and it will become a cripple if it is light, and it will explode and die if it is severe. Fucking thought for a moment, then rolled up his sleeves. Fourth senior brother, draw some of my blood, and compare and study. Okay. Lang Xian carefully took 5 milliliters of blood and put it into the testing instrument. Matching. After a few minutes, the results popped up. Matching complete. Lang Xian was surprised. Junior sister, each of them has a gene fragment that is counted as your derivative gene. Evolvers of the same line may have the same gene segment. After all, this part of the gene is the reason for the evolutionary to have superpowers. For example, spiritual evolutionists all have a certain amount of telepathic ability, but it's just divided into strengths and weaknesses. The ability of telepathy is controlled by a gene, and this gene has many derivative genes, thus giving birth to a psychic ability similar to telepathy. But the ability to replicate is unique and has no factions. And the invisible man and the shapeshifter are also the strongest among the S-level evolutionaries, so why do they still have derivative genes? Fucking rubbed his chin, pondered for a moment, and said, this is really strange, please do more research, fourth senior brother. Naturally Lang Xian looked serious. It's about you, I can't relax. Fucking said, we killed the shapeshifter, and the elder brother severely injured the invisible man. The memorer will not let it go. I will find him as quickly as possible. Okay. Lang Xian nodded. If you need any weapons, just ask me. I will be responsible for providing the most solid backup for you and the elder brother. 2 days later, Eternal Academy. Fucking arrived at the monthly exam site as scheduled. Because of the variety show A Beautiful Day, her popularity in Liberty Island has also increased to a certain extent. Seeing her coming in, many students were attracted and whispered. I didn't expect her to become a star as an evolutionary, and I don't know what to think. It is estimated that if she fails the assessment today, she will be forced to drop out of school. How embarrassing that would be. Hey, what do you think her evolutionary ability is? Could it be the space system or the spirit system? Come on, if it's an evolutionary of these two factions, a mentor would have already snatched it up. Fucking turned a deaf ear and sat down at the examination table. A few exclamations suddenly erupted from the crowd. It's Dean Dongfang. Why is Dean Dongfang here? As soon as Dean Dongfang entered the assessment venue, he saw Fucking. He stared at his disciple without saying a word. This kind of low-level assessment, why are you here to join in the fun? Let me talk about a few commonplace things. 1. The full text is empty, please do not substitute reality, magic novels, not science. 2. Please don't mention any three-dimensional stars are suitable for playing XXX, I will delete such comments. Everyone clearly distinguish between virtual and reality, but as an author, I will construct the world under my pen to be as real as possible. Happy reading, babies. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 879. Once tied for first place in the eternal ranking, came to take the ordinary monthly exam in the inner court, is this really not coming to reduce dimensionality? Bullying juniors? Dean Dongfang's mood was complicated, and he stopped for a while. The deputy dean looked at him with some doubts. Dean. Oh, it's nothing. Dean Dongfang squeezed the space between his brows. I thought of something bad. The deputy dean didn't know why, and was very concerned. What did the dean think of? Dean Dongfang didn't answer, but just walked towards the judging panel. Let's go. The monthly exam is still conducted in the mode of random number drawing, and the referee will call the number. After several games, it was finally Sci-Fi's turn. Number 9, Sci-Fi. The referee held up the sign, fight against number 26, Yeming Tong. As soon as the sentence fell, the whispering voice increased. Yeming Tong is from the Ye family, she will be in trouble now. Although it is said that Yeming Tong is not a direct descendant, because of his high bloodline, he has also been listed by the Ye family as a core disciple to be cultivated. He is not comparable to evolutionists outside the continent. I hope Yeming Tong will be merciful and don't hurt a big star. Yeming Tong thought so too. He jumped onto the ring and raised his chin towards Sci-Fi. You haven't participated in the previous assessment, and you don't know the rules. It doesn't matter, I can let you do a few tricks first. Sci-Fi unhurriedly took off the dragon sparrow feather stuck in his hair, and restored it to its normal size. No, if you have to, I can give you a few tricks. Yeming Tong's complexion suddenly darkened, the tone is not small. He snorted coldly, his body had already changed. His palms and feet began to turn into beasts, and his claws were extremely sharp. At the same time, his stature has also become bigger and his strength is majestic. Variant line. This is also a large category of evolutionaries. The shapeshifters are the strongest of this faction. Therefore, the evolutionary DNA of the mutant line will always have derivative fragments of the shapeshifter gene. Sci-Fi looked at the mutated Yeming Tong with interest, without showing any sign of fear. Roar. With a bounce, Yeming Tong jumped up and threw himself towards Saifu. With the sound of the wind, the sharp blade glowed coldly, and he attacked swiftly. Many students had already covered their eyes, not daring to watch the bloody scene that followed. The vice president frowned. Yeming Tong has been in the Eternal Academy for a year, he is an old student, how can he fight Sci-Fi? Who drew this number? But the assessment has already been carried out, and the vice president can't step forward to stop it, so he can only watch helplessly. What? At this moment, there was a scream, and a huge monster flew out backwards. There was blood spattered. Shua. Sci-Fi raised his hand, and held the dragon sparrow feather that was spinning back. From the beginning to the end, her position did not move half a point. But Yeming Tong fell to the ground with blood on his right arm. He struggled and couldn't get up. The audience was in an uproar. Did you see her use the evolutionary? How did she beat Yeming Tong out? Yeming Tong's mutated strength is beyond the charts. He can lift 100 tons. Is that a failure? Damn it, awesome, this big star, made a mistake and made a mistake. Applause quickly erupted from the audience, many students stood up and applauded Sci-Fi. Eternal Academy Mujiang, whoever is strong will be respected. The referee announced the result of the game in a daze. Ding Dongfang pressed his head, looking shamelessly. He knew that his naughty apprentice was here to bully others. The monthly exam lasts for 3 days. After the end of the first half day, at noon, the headquarters of the revenge organization. My lord Yamingtong knelt on the ground, very ashamed. I didn't test her evolutionary ability. Trash, the young man raised his hand and slapped it out. The organization has cultivated you for so long, and your bloodline has been raised to super a level, and you haven't even let the other party use the evolutionary ability. Yamingtong dared not speak at all. The young man said coldly, "Get out." Yamingtong clutched his arm and ran away scrambling. My lord, she didn't show the ability of an evolutionary, but she still defeated Yamingtong. A middle-aged man thought for a moment. I'm afraid she is an evolutionary of the power system. The young man's eyes narrowed. This possibility is very high. A power evolutionist with innate divine power. The middle-aged man said again, it's better to find another evolutionary of the speed system to try her. No, the young man said, it can't be done, she already knows. The plan failed, and the snake has already been alarmed. This path doesn't work again. The young man let out a breath slowly. Go on, I'll go see that adult. Hearing this sentence, the high-level people's expressions were all shaken. The eternal continent is a real world of spiritual cultivation, and this is no secret to them. The only one who can call a young man master is the peak powerhouse from the eternal continent. That is the master they ultimately serve. It's just that except for the youth, they are not qualified to see it yet. The members all got up and said respectfully, "Send off, my lord." Eternal continent. The world is dark and there is no light. The youth follows the path to the destination. There are countless eyes staring at him around, and the eyes are glowing green, like will-o'-the-wisps. There was a hoarse and unpleasant sound. It's a living person, I really want to eat it. When can I go out to eat? The delicacy of flesh and blood. Listening to these scalp-numbing words, the young man's back was also tense. He didn't breathe a sigh of relief until he walked out of this section of the road. He bowed to the depths of the darkness. My lord. You're here again. A second later, the voice sounded, with no emotion, you've come a lot lately. The young man pursed his lips. Recently, I have encountered a lot of difficult things and failed repeatedly, so I have no choice but to ask the adults for help. The voice said, speak. It's about the daughter of luck that Zhongshan when caught at that time. The young man quickly told about Sci-fi. I really don't know how to deal with it. Oh, there seemed to be some interest in the voice. You mean, after being taken 90% of luck by the seat, she actually gathered new luck again? And also attracted luck for Daxia? Yes, my lord. The young man was very respectful. It's just that the luck gathered is not as good as the original luck, but she can rise again, which is very powerful. That's right, it's very powerful, it impresses me. The voice hummed lightly, and just asked, how many times have you killed and failed? My subordinates are incompetent. The young man whispered, she is very cunning. I haven't even been able to judge her evolutionary ability so far. My preliminary estimate is that she is an S-level evolutionary. Several fights made him realize that Sci-fi was not as ordinary as he appeared on the surface, and was even more difficult than those who had been ordered to kill before. Anyone who has been ordered to kill will be eradicated within a month. Even the upper echelons of Eternal Academy. But when it came to Sci-fi's place, all their methods were useless. The youth has adjusted Sci-fi's threat level to the highest level, second only to Yunjin, Ding Dongfang, and the head of the Holy Light Tribunal. The voice was still faint, with no ups and downs, but he snorted lightly, S-level evolutionary. SS level is useless. Evolutionary, superpower, extraordinary, or gifted, there are such people in every world. They have abilities beyond ordinary people, but because of the difference between each world, the names are also different. But no matter what, in his opinion, A so-called evolutionary like SI fucking is just a little better than ordinary people. Those who are not spiritual practitioners and have not lived the same life as the heavens and the earth can be destroyed easily. From the adult's point of view, she is naturally not a threat, it's just a fly shaking a tree. The young man sighed, it's just that if she doesn't get rid of her, I'm always a little uneasy. He even believed that SI fucking's threat was greater than Yunjin and the head of the Holy Light Tribunal, the two leaders of the Free State, recognized as the number one. But this idea is ridiculous. Then get rid of it. The voice was non-committal. Do you have any good methods and where you need help? My lord, I think that if you want to destroy her, you might as well use the previous method, the young man said respectfully. The mission of the Eternal Academy must be to connect the brainwaves in the abyss mode, and then we only need to let her fall into a dangerous place. At that time, she couldn't work every day, and the earth should not respond, so she could only die with infinite unwillingness. They have used this method several times and it is very effective. Even those strong men on the eternal list couldn't resist. Death swamp, endless sea, reckless desolation. He could choose a good burial place for SI fucking. Good morning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 880. Even the transcendent existence of the Eternal Four has been defeated one by them, so what is SI fucking? Okay, I'll leave this matter to you. There was no objection in the voice, and it eased a little. You are responsible for bringing people in, and other people will meet you. Thank you, sir, for your compassion. The young man cupped his fists and bowed again. She is the daughter of luck, and it is difficult to kill her in our place, but in the eternal continent, she will not have the advantage of luck. Hearing this sentence, the voice smiled lightly. Yes, the child of luck is different in each world, and the eternal continent is not a place where she can get luck. He has seen many worlds, but the new world is the one that catches his heart the most. Yes, the young man replied, I will kill her before the holy day arrives. In this way, my lord, you can get more luck. The voice was obviously much happier. Good boy, go. The young man hesitated for a moment. My lord, those things outside. Oh, they are all my good children. The voice became cold. Don't worry, they won't eat you. The young man's heart was relieved. Thank you, sir. He leaves cautiously. After a while, another figure appeared in the darkness. Is a woman. The female voice sneered. This kid's heart is higher than the sky, and your seal has not been lifted yet. Be careful that you can't control him. As your heart is higher than the sky, you will have more desires. The voice laughed instead. As long as you have desires, you can control them. Taking a step back, don't I still have your dark chess? You and I are just a cooperative relationship, the female voice said coldly. Don't forget your promise. Remember, the voice said lightly, when the Godhead appears, I will give you one and make you a god. Only then did the female voice calm down. I'm going out to get some air, don't look for me during this time. The figure left, the light disappeared, and the entire world returned to darkness. 2 days later, Eternal Academy. After the 3-day monthly exam, Dean Dongfang awarded medals to the students who performed outstandingly in this monthly exam. And there will be dedicated staff to record the honor points each student gets. The ranking of the Eternal List combines the data of honor points and meritorious value. The latter can only be obtained by accepting tasks. In this monthly exam, SI fucking became one of the most eye-catching students beyond reproach. When she took the stage to accept the award, all eyes were on her in a flash. Student SI, you've performed very well. Dean Dongfang smiled but said in official terms, this is your reward this time. I hope you will achieve better results in future assessments. Thank you, Dean, I will train hard and study hard. SI fucking clenched his fists solemnly. Strive to live up to Dean's expectations, become the pillar of Eternal Academy, rush to the Eternal ranking, and contribute to Liberty Continent. As soon as these words fell, the audience applauded like thunder. It is good. Student SI is right, it makes my blood boil in my chest. I want to do the same, rush to the Eternal list as soon as possible, even if it's worth staying at the bottom of the list for a minute. Ding Dong Fang. He started to take advantage of this time to talk nonsense and act recklessly. It would be evil if he believed a word she said. Ding Dong Fang secretly gritted his teeth, but with a smile on his face, looking forward to your performance. After receiving the medal from him, SI fucking jumped off the stage. You are so amazing. I was taken aback by you when I saw Ding Dong Fang just now. A female student next to him exclaimed, are all of you celebrities so good at talking? Yes, SI fucking stuffed the medal into her pocket casually, and she said slowly, I'm the best at telling lies. Oh, yes, you don't know, it's too difficult to be on the Eternal list. The female student shook her head, but the dean is very happy to be coaxed by you. SI Fu rubbed his chin and thought. Ding Dong Fang probably used all his endurance to not violently chase her down. She raised her head and spoke casually, why is the Eternal list so difficult? Of course it's difficult. The female student's eyes widened. Brothers and sisters on the Eternity list, if you just pick one up, the Holy Light Tribunal will give you 3 points. SI fucking laughed lazily, that's not necessarily true, I will still be invited to the small black room as a guest. My idol is the Eternal Four who are tied for first place. The female student looked adoring. I heard that they are all women, and they are stronger than the law enforcement team. I wish I could be as strong as them sometime. SI fucking raised his eyebrows, do you want to be like them? Just think about it. The female student sighed, that's a rare genius, but they haven't shown up for a long time, and I don't know where they went. Maybe they are still performing missions secretly. Over the past decade or so, the enrollment rate of Eternal Academy has greatly increased. According to the data, 70% of the people came here under the name of the Eternal Four. SI fucking's eyelashes drooped and he clenched his fingers tightly. That's right, my name is He Jiayuan. The female student stretched out her hand, nice to meet you. SI fucking didn't refuse either, and shook hands with her, knowing me is not a good thing. He Jiayuan was stunned, huh? SI fucking didn't speak anymore, staring at the Eternal list not far away, lost in thought. On the other side, in the auditorium. The domain of the Knight family. Yezilan noticed that Ye Baking's gaze was always on SI fucking's body. She squinted her eyes, why, Big Brother is interested in her. Ye Baking sneered, beautiful, with good strength, I am naturally interested in beauties. He has to admit that he really likes SI fucking's face, and he is also a first-class beauty in Liberty Island. It's just that the origin is a little bit worse. The Yin family can be ranked among the 3 major evolutionary families outside the continent, but within the continent, it is not as good as a medium-sized family. Yezilan shook her head, I don't like her, you can find someone else. Ye Baiking Mei raised her eyebrows, and looked at her amusedly, I didn't really bring her to Ye's house, why are you unhappy? Even if I really do this, you are the real sister of my first mother, and I will definitely look towards you. There is no reason to be jealous. Brother, where are you thinking? Yezilan frowned, a little displeased, I just don't like her name, and the feeling she gave me. You don't remember the engraving on Ye Wanlan's grave words? Ye Baking's gaze paused. He remembered that sentence. Turn the tide from the collapse, and help the building to collapse. Turn the tide. Fu tilt. And she looks too much like that Xiaoyu. Yezilan still didn't swallow the original tone, it's annoying. Ye Baking smiled again, you are really too sensitive, but what you said made me more interested in her. Yezilan frowned even tighter, what do you mean? It just happened to be enough to torture and torture. Ye Baking shrugged, it's equivalent to taking revenge on Ye Wanlan and Xiaoyu. Yezilan's expression brightened, Brother, you still think clearly. But don't rush for a while, Ye Baking said, wait until I finish dealing with the important things at hand. What he wants, he will definitely get. Late at night. I fucking sneaked into Yes house with Uzion. Since the last time I met with Yes Steward, every time she came to the cemetery, Yes Steward would send away all the people within a 100-meter radius so that she could pay homage to Ye Wanlin. Sister I fucking sat down cross-legged, we're here to see you again, I'm starting to take revenge, don't worry, they won't escape. The wind blows gently, everything is very quiet. Uzion quietly accompanied her by the side. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and said a location. Ching ching, the person you were waiting for is here. I fucking narrowed his eyes, I'll go right away. Uzion nodded and smiled, do you need help? An evolutionary who has become a transcendent grade by relying on medicine. I fucking squeezed his wrist, it's really too much for you to help. After finishing speaking, the next second, she had disappeared from the cemetery. Soon came to the Ye family mansion. Ye Mingtong drank and was walking towards Ye's house staggeringly. Until a dark figure appeared, waking him up from the wine. Who? Ye Mingtong's palm turned into a beast again, and his voice was stern. I fucking walked out. She was still wearing the uniform of the Eternal Academy, no different from that in the daytime, with a youthful look. Ye Mingtong's eyes changed, it's you? What else do you want to do? Don't do anything. I fucking stepped forward slowly, half of her face was illuminated by the moonlight, like an azure ghost. I swore an oath in front of my sister's grave, there is one member of the Vengeance Organization, I will kill him one. Now, it's your turn. I went out for 2 steps today and it rained hail. It's a cold day. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Ching Qian. Chapter 881. When drawing numbers for the monthly exam, I fucking realized something was wrong in an instant. Eternal Academy's assessment method is very rigorous. As the first time she participated in the monthly exam as the head of the Yin family, she would not directly encounter a transcendent grade evolutionary like Ye Mingtong who had been cultivating in the inner courtyard for a year. Sure enough, Eternal Academy also has people from the Vengeance Organization, who fiddled with the lottery. The only thing that was beyond I fucking's expectation was that the person sent by the Revenge Organization would be a collateral child of the Ye family. It now appears that the 4 major families have also been infiltrated heavily. The Huo family has been cleared up and down, but I fucking also asked MRS Huo to keep a few eyeliners of Revenge Organizations on the bright side. These eyeliners will only get some fake news and some real news, so that they can in turn confuse the Revenge Organization. What nonsense are you talking about? Ye Mingtong woke up completely, only feeling cold all over his body. He was stern, so you are a member of the Revenge Organization, I will report it to the Patriarch and send you to the Holy Light Tribunal. As he said so, the hand hidden in his pocket moved quietly. But he hadn't executed it yet, the next second, his wrist hurt. A sharp blade sank into the skin and penetrated into the bone, and blood gushed out instantly. The severe pain caused Ye Mingtong to let out a scream. Before he could react, his whole body was under control. Report. I fucking pinched his throat and smiled, do you think I will give you this chance? The pain became more and more severe, Ye Mingtong was horrified and lost his voice, what the hell are you? This is the first time he has received a mission from the Revenge Organization, to force out I fucking's evolutionary ability. It was also the first time he met the leader of the Revenge Organization. An unexpectedly young man. On weekdays, he has been conscientious and dedicated to his duties, and even the elders of the Ye family have never doubted him. Ye Mingtong suddenly found himself speechless. He lowered his head stiffly, only to see a sharp claw piercing his chest. This sharp claw is very familiar, it is his mutation ability. It's just tougher than his claws. Yamingtong's brain hummed, and the pain in his body couldn't suppress his shock at the moment. Don't you want to know my evolutionary ability? Sci-Fu tilted his head, his voice was very gentle. Do you know now? Yamingtong opened his mouth, and blood kept gushing from his throat. His body was trembling, his voice was intermittent, very difficult. Reduplicate, you actually. It turned out to be a copy. No wonder the revenge organization has never found out about Sci-Fucking's evolutionary ability. This is copying. This proves that as long as she is an evolutionary who has been in contact with Sci-Fucking, she can copy the other party's ability, and even make better use of it. And with the ability that Sci-Fucking has displayed now, her evolutionary lineage is above her. Smart, Sci-Fucking said flatly, being smart once before you die, it's a worthwhile trip. Yamingtong stared, you. His body fell, and everything fell silent. The night wind blew away, blowing away the alcohol smell around him. Sci-Fucking wiped the blood off his hands indifferently, and left without burying Yamingtong's body. The Ye family's ancestral grave is still quiet. At this time, no one will come to worship. Not to mention that in more than 10 years, Ye Wanlin, a rare genius in the world, has long been forgotten. But with Sci-Fucking's sheer strength, she could hear a few whispers. She froze for a moment and looked up. The man sat by the tomb with his head slightly lowered, his expression very gentle. This reminded her of how gentle he was in his previous life before he died. The world can only see his decisiveness in killing. But she could see the tenderness buried in his bones. Well, she's fine, don't worry. Yu Xian's voice was cold, with a slight smile. I took her to the night market for supper yesterday, and I watched her sleep, so I won't let her stay up late. Finally, he paused and added, I won't let her into the kitchen. Sci-Fucking began to think about whether she should be moved or angry. She also quietly waited for Yu Xian to finish speaking before walking over and sitting down beside him. What did you talk about? Talked a lot. Yu Xian rubbed her head. My sister heard everything too. Sci-Fucking's heart shrank. Did she hear that? Well, really? Then I believe you. Yu Xian nodded, with a faint smile. Killed. Well, kill it. Sci-Fucking slowly clenched his fingers, but it's not enough, I have to kill again. At this moment, she seemed to finally be able to understand the feeling of Emperor Yin embarking on the road of killing and stopping killing 1,500 years ago. Must be killed, otherwise there will be no peace. Sci-Fucking took out another bunch of purple irises and put them down. Sister, wait for me. She also often recalls what happened in the Endless Sea. She was supposed to be swallowed by the vortex, and she was probably the first person the revenge organization wanted to kill at that time. But because Ye Wanlin and her limit exchanged one by one, it was Ye Wanlin herself who died in the Endless Seabed in the end. Well, I was thinking that if I encountered that situation, I would choose the same as her. After hearing this, Yu Xian said softly, you don't need to blame yourself, you just need to take big steps forward. Sci-Fucking was startled again, and turned his head. He looked directly into her eyes and said, Ching Ching, you are her closest and most cherished person, you must take care of yourself. After a moment of silence, Sci-Fucking said in a low voice, I finally know how you made my grandma and others stunned for a while, you really know how to talk. Hearing this, Yu Xian raised his eyebrows slightly, and he chuckled softly, why do you miss me so much? Because you are a black-hearted monster, a big black-hearted monster. Sci-Fucking blinked. By the way, the Ye family sent me an invitation card, I will go and have a look tomorrow. Yeah, Yu Xian responded lightly, I'm just outside, always here. The next day, at noon, both Ye Baking and Ye Zilan were already waiting in the living room. After waiting for 10 minutes, Ye Zilan was a little impatient. Brother, is she not coming? I gave her an invitation, but she is still planning to be late. who didn't wait outside the mansion early in the morning after receiving the invitation from the Ye family. Ye Baking was still very patient. Wait a little longer. This wait is half an hour. Before Ye Baking's patience was exhausted, Si fucking walked in unhurriedly under the leadership of Steward Ye. Ye Baking suppressed her impatience and anger, and smiled. Miss Si, is something delayed? Si fucking said flatly, it's not convenient to disclose private matters. A few days ago, the sons of my Ye family caused trouble for Miss Si. Ye Baking was not annoyed, but Miss C's extraordinary strength really impressed me. Si fucking sat down on the guest seat naturally. What does Mr. Ye want to say? When Ye Wanlan was still alive, Ye Baking and Ye Zilan had no sense of existence at all. It's Miss Si like this. I invite you here because I want the genius Dr. Ki Yusang to show you. Ye Baking smiled and introduced, I just came to my Ye family a while ago, and my medical skills are very high. He also healed an old wound for me. The genius Dr. Chiu Sang can detect any hidden diseases. This evolutionary has too many hidden injuries in his body. If it develops into a serious disease in the future, it will be bad. When Si fucking heard this, she didn't show too much emotion. She said flatly, thank you, Mr. Ye, I don't really need it. There are indeed many hidden wounds in the evolutionary body. But she had already learned the way of self-cultivation from the Lord of Ghost Valley. She also went to Ghost Valley yesterday, collected some new medicinal materials, refined them into tonics, and distributed them to the people around her. The medicinal materials in the Eternal Continent are more useful than any energy supplement in the Free Continent. This made Si fucking even more sure that the origin of the evolutionary was related to the Eternal Continent. Ye Zilan and Ye Baking looked at each other calmly, smiled, and said intentionally or unintentionally, perhaps Miss Si will feel more secure after hearing the name of Ghost Doctor. Si fu dumped and finally took a look at her. No. Who will feel safe after hearing her title of secondary school too? And she had such a bad temper when she was a ghost doctor, isn't she really afraid of her being poisoned? Ye Zilan frowned, endured it, and said, Miss Mo Fizi, hasn't heard of the ghost-handed doctor? Yes, the reputation of the ghost-handed doctor outside the continent is not as loud as it is in the continent. The genius Dr. Ki Yusang is the only big disciple of the ghost doctor. He is not an ordinary doctor, even the Lu family's genius Dr. Lu is incomparable. Si fucking paused holding the teacup, and slowly raised his head. Tell me, whose apprentice is she? Good morning. I said a long time ago that the friendship of the eternal foursome is absolute, and no one is a villain, or stands on the opposite side. Why do so many babies think that Yu Huixu is the villain? Did you guys read some kind of abusive article about the betrayal of brothers and sisters? Kek, remember that I am a sweet article. I thought of a very interesting brain hole. Maybe I will write a short story with hundreds of thousands of words.